In today's video, we're going to talk about superior thinking. Right now, if you have problems trying to get to the next level, regardless if you're trying to be in business or you're trying to make some changes in your life, we have what's called an automatic thought process. All of us do. And we're also capable of superior thinking. So I'm going to show you something that I utilize to help myself in my personal life and in business. And I think that it'll help you. But first, I want to kind of lay the foundation. And I want to ask you some questions so I can get your mind kind of thinking, so I can show you how this works. You're going to understand this in real time. I'm going to call out some numbers. And because this channel is about making money, I'm going to just utilize the goal. The overall goal is about trying to get to a level of income. So I'm going to ask you this question because I want to show you how your thought processes work. I'm going to ask you this question. This is the goal. Do you know how to make $10,000 a month? So what I want you to pay attention to is, if you're making $10,000 a month, you're going to say, yes, I know how to make $10,000 a month. If you don't make $10,000 a month, what I want you to notice is the thought process that you're going through. You're either saying to yourself, I don't know how, I don't have the resources, I don't have the education, I don't have whatever that is. Whatever the thoughts that come to your mind, I want you to allow those to come to your mind. And you can write them down on a piece of paper too. $50,000 a month, same processes. If you're not making $50,000 a month, I want you to write down, think about, what are the reasons why you believe you can't make $50,000 a month? Or if you're making $50,000 a month, it's going to be an easy thought process for you, because you're going to say to yourself, I know how to do it. And you're going to bring up those memories about how you got to $50,000 a month. $100,000 a month. Think about the same thing. And also, while you're thinking about it, as I go higher with these numbers, think about the stories that start to come up in your mind about why you can't make $100,000 a month. You might think that you didn't go to college, or you don't have a certain type of education, a certain type of skill, whatever that is. I'm not here to tell you those reasons. You have your own reasons in your own mind. And what I'm doing is I'm laying the foundation to allow you to see how we think as humans. $200,000 a month, same thing. What is coming up in your mind? $500,000 a month. What is coming up in your mind? So now, if you wrote those down, or if you got those thoughts in your mind, what I want you to understand is, number one, if you are not making that kind of money per month, or even if you are making that kind of money per month, think about what's coming up in your mind is those are stories. And those stories, regardless if you make that amount or you don't make that amount, you are bringing up what I call mental file folders that are in the back of your mind, that are sitting there, that are waiting. And each of those file folders has something already stored in it that's going to help you rationalize the reasons why you're not making 10,000, 50, 100, 200,000, whatever it is, or why you can't make any changes in your personal life. They are sitting right there. Now, what are those mental file folders? Those are things that you went through when you were a child. Those are things that you're going through right now. They're just sitting there. Those are past experiences. This is everything that we've gathered from going through life, and those stories are built. So if I was to ask you, I asked you the question, $50,000 a month. So maybe in one of the file folders, you think that everybody that's making $50,000 a month went to college. That's the story that you've told yourself. That's what you've seen out there. That's what you've experienced. That's what maybe friends and family members told you. So you filed that away, and you have this story in your mind that says people who make $50,000 a month, they match this. Now, here's the crazy thing is that Those file folders are not good or bad. They're put there so we don't have to work so hard to get answers and to make decisions in our life. I'd like to use this example with the driving a car. Every time you get in a car, you don't have to learn how to drive that car again. Or riding a bicycle. You don't have to learn how to do it again. That thought process is in the back of your mind, just like these file folders. Anytime you want to try to do something, or anytime you haven't achieved something, you're going to go right to those. And this is something that's done instantly. This is not something that you really think about. It pulls it up instantly to make your life easier. So it could be the right decision. It could be the wrong decision. That doesn't matter. What's your brain is doing is allowing you to be able to move through life a lot easier. So if you are not a person who makes $10,000 a month, your file folder to make your life easier for you is going to pull up those past experiences and say, oh, this is why you're not able to do that. So think about it. If everybody that made $10,000 a month went to college, in your own mind, from your past experiences, from what you were told growing up, everybody that makes $10,000 a month, that's going to instantly come up, and that's going to allow you to be able to rationalize why you can't make $10,000 a month. It's going to be right there. It makes it a lot easier for you. Now, here's the crazy thing also, is that while you're doing that, that's how you build your identity. You identify. So whatever amount of money or whatever your lifestyle is, who you are as a person, those file folders build up over time, and that's who you identify with. Sometimes people will go out in public and they'll, pretend to be someone else, or they'll make it like they're maybe rich, or make it like they're famous or whatever. They're identifying on the outside who they want to be, but on the inside, you could look right at them and say, this person is faking. Because no matter whatever is in these file folders here, people will be able to see through all of the stuff that you're trying to do that's fake, and they're going to see that who you really identify with. Now, they may not see it right up front, but over time, because remember what I said earlier, these file folders make our lives a lot easier. So over time, you're going to start to see, or people are going to start to see, the real you. And that's why some people that meet people and they're like, or a couple, they get together and then all of a sudden they're like, you changed, or you're not the same as you were when we first met. That's because they were trying to trying to fake who they really identify with as a person. And then later, because those mental file folders make life a lot easier, and they're going to override anything that someone tries to do to be out there faking, or to be pretending who they are, or what they make, or whatever. So over time, it's going to show who they really are. Now, let me show you a little secret that I use on a daily basis, and I call it superior thinking. And I'm going to tell you up front that this is very difficult at the beginning to do. But if you're going to be a superior thinker, and what I mean by a superior thinker is that you're going to have to set all emotions. You're going to have to set aside all of these mental file folders. You're going to have to practice putting them aside. You're going to have to practice putting them aside. So let me give you some examples in a second. So when you use superior thinking, you're not going to let all of this stuff here with your mental file folders override the goal that you're trying to achieve. Think about it this way. If you've never made $10,000 a month, you have to actually become a person who makes $10,000 a month on the inside before it materializes on the outside. So, and that's how a lot of people think that you changed, and really what changes, you change yourself on the inside. So the first thing that you got to do, if you want to take advantage of superior thinking so you can get to any goal that you want financially or on a personal level, is you're going to have to detach yourself from the mental folder. And that is very hard because people have told us things. We have certain feelings that we want to acknowledge because if even experience, for me in business, when I started new companies, I was thinking, oh, I got all of this experience from my other business, so it's gonna be an automatic success with my new business. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So you have to detach yourself from that mental folder. That's going to be one of the most difficult things to do because there's going to be emotions that are attached to this. You identify right now with whatever is in your mental folder. And that's your identity. You don't want anyone to take that away, even yourself. Even yourself. You ever heard where people say, I got to find myself? Like there's people, you'll see it all over social media. I went on a vacation to find myself, or I'm staying away from people or staying off of social media to find myself. That's a person that's in conflict with themselves about who they identify with, how they identify. And that's in those folders. And this, when I say this, you're going to start to understand, it's going to come full circle, that everything that's in those mental folders are just your experiences. You do not have to believe them anymore. You can move forward and write new mental folders. Those folders will be there safe if you think that you got to go back to go get them so you can identify with the old you. That's going to always be there. So you have to detach. Once you detach from there, the goal is the goal. And what I mean by the goal is that whatever you're trying to accomplish, whatever it is, you do not need to reach back into the past and get those personal experiences, get those financial experiences, get those failures, get those other successes. You don't need to reach back and get any of that. What you need to do is you need to focus fully on the goal. The goal is the goal. And whatever way you're going to try to achieve that goal, that's what you need to move forward with. And if you fail, you don't need to reach back into that file folder and find some reason to justify why you failed. All you need to do is rewrite again how you're going to achieve the goal. The goal is the goal. The way that you get to that goal might change. And that's something that you need to understand. A lot of people will try to achieve a goal, and when they don't achieve the goal, they change the goal. So how are you going to ever achieve a goal when every time you fail trying to get to the goal, you keep changing it? No, what you do is you keep the goal the same, but you change the plan within the goal. And the only way that you're going to feel okay about changing the plan within the goal is to not go back to those mental file folders, because they're going to come up. If you're trying to make more money and then you fail at making more money, guess what's going to pop up? One of those mental file folders is going to pop up and say, well, you don't have enough resources. It's going to give you every excuse in the book to make you feel good about why you didn't achieve that goal. Rather than focusing on why you didn't achieve the goal, you need to focus on what plan needs to change to achieve the goal. So think about that. That's superior thinking. It's not going back here to find justification on why it failed. That doesn't matter. Superior thinking allows you to say, okay, I'm going to stay focused on the goal. Let me change the plan. Let me ask you this question. If you are trying to make $10,000 a month and you've never made $10,000 a month, would it matter to you if the plan that you started out from day one is the plan that succeeded? Or would it really just matter that you got to $10,000 a month? The problem is that in those mental file folders, once you make that plan, you stick that plan right into those file folders, because every thought, plan, whatever, is going to still go into the same area in your mind. And so I ask you again, if you were trying to make $10,000 a month and you made one plan and it didn't get you there, you made another plan that didn't get you there, you made another one that didn't get you there. Say you made 100 plans and then on plan number 100, it got you to $10,000 a month. Would any of those plans, would you go back and say, well, because I didn't make it with plan number 49, I'm not happy? But that's what people do, is that they'll go back into that file folder and be like, well, they're digging up all these reasons why this stuff doesn't work, why something doesn't work, rather than just saying, okay, plan number 1 didn't work, plan number 2 didn't work. I'm still focused on the goal. And you got to get rid of the outside people or things or environment, all of the stuff that makes you feel inferior, to make you feel like you're maybe look like a fool going for your goals. You got to put all of that stuff aside, because that's part of that mental file folder. You're going to have some people on the outside that's telling you stuff, and you're going to have a whole bunch of stuff on the inside from your own mind trying to tell you stuff to get you off your goal. And when you do this, you have to upgrade your identity, because no one, if it's about a financial goal, you cannot make the amount of money that you don't believe you're worthy of making. I know that sounds crazy. I can give you an example. There was a basketball player locally that I was coaching, and he was having financial problems. And this basketball player made millions of dollars. And I said, your whole life, you were focused on the goal to make it into the NBA. Once you made it into the NBA, you found out that you did not identify as a person in the NBA that makes millions of dollars. So now, how would I be able to tell him that he's not identifying with as an NBA player that's making millions of dollars, because he wasn't doing the things that it takes to be a professional NBA player? He did everything that it took to be a high school player, to be a college player, to get drafted. But then when he made it to the NBA, he did not identify as that person. And he thought about every excuse out of his own mind, all of this stuff that really didn't even matter, every excuse mentally on why he couldn't practice as hard as they wanted him to practice. And then when it came to his money, I said, you're not even identifying as a person who deserves to even be making this kind of money. And I told him, you're going to end up losing all of your money. Well, let me go ahead and tell you the end of the story. He ended up withdrawing himself from my coaching, where he said, hey, I appreciate how you're trying to guide me and give me some knowledge about finances, but I'm just going to go another direction. I said, okay, that's great, and I wish you well. Well, he ended up losing all of his money. Like, just think about it, making $40 million and then losing all of that money. And it's because he did not identify as a person who should be making $40 million a year. And I know that might sound easy coming out of my mouth, but think about it. I'm going to ask you, if you had $40 million right now, how would you lead your life? Would you, do some things? You might buy some stuff, but you're going to save some money, right? Well, everybody who, that's a decision that everybody has to make when they get into that position. And you can see, I don't even have to tell you this, you can see singers, movie stars, basketball players, football players that have lost all of their money. And that's because a lot of people think it's just because they're spending. Spending is the root cause of them not identifying as a person who deserves that money. If you don't, it doesn't matter if it's $100 a week, $200, $300, $1,000, $50,000, $100,000, or millions of dollars. If you don't identify as a person who deserves to be making that money, you will find ways to get rid of that money. You will spend it on anything. You'll spend it on 10 of the same things, and you looking like go in your closet and you got 10 of the same things. It's not because you want 10 of the same things. You don't identify with a person that's going to be able to keep their money. So you're going to do all of these different things that feel good to get rid of the money because you actually identify with a person who doesn't keep money. So now let me give you some examples about superior thinking on what you can go out and maybe this will jog your memory on some people. You could do some research. And like I always say, don't believe me. What I want you to do is to test this thought process. So now, to prove to you that superior thinking works, let's look at born-again Christians. You can have someone who was out on the streets using drugs, beating up their wife, stealing, doing all types of stuff. Pick up a Bible, go into church, get baptized if that's what they want to do. Born again Christian, and everything else is erased in their own mind. So they erase those file folders, or they put them they never get erased. They don't get erased. They get put further back. Like I got this drawing here and it says back of mind. It gets pushed further in the back of the mind. I call it putting it to the back. Like when people say, I need to get around something, I need to get over something. If I could just get through this problem, I'm going to be okay. When we as humans speak that way, what we're saying is we want to put that in the back of our mind so we don't have to worry about it. But it's always there, right? Because you can have a born-again Christian do all of that. And if they don't identify as that new person, guess what can happen? All of those mental folders can pop back up. When they go into those old experiences, they can pop back up and they'll go back to who they identified with in the past. But to prove you superior thinking does work, there are people who become born-again Christians and they change their life forever. Change their life forever. So that proves that superior thinking works. And for a born-again Christian, they're going to detach from the past mental file folders. The goal is the goal, which is to change their life, and they upgrade their identity. So people are going to say, you changed. And they're going to say, you changed. You don't change overnight, you change over time. And then all of those people that they did things to, they're going to be waiting for them to mess up, aren't they? They're going to be waiting for them to mess up. That's why I told you, you got to put those outside people to the side. And you got to change on the inside first. Now let's go to another one. People who invent stuff. There was the Super Soaker guy. There was an African American who he's an inventor, and he was inventing all of this stuff and never made any money, but he kept inventing. The goal was the goal. He wanted to make something that could be sold all over the world, really. And he ended up making the Super Soakers. Everybody got them, those guns that squirt the water. African-American gentleman made those up. But he talks about the struggles where there was stuff that he invented and nobody wanted it, nobody cared. But what did he do? The goal was the goal. He detached from all the other failures, kept moving forward. He identified with a person who was going to make something that was going to be sold everywhere. And he actually got that done. Let's talk about musicians. Musicians, they write music. They, do everything to try to increase their popularity. And then all of a sudden, they make one song and then they're off and running. There's several artists that you could think about. It seems like they came out of nowhere. But if you were to sit them down and ask them, they would probably tell you, I wrote all of these songs over and over. During COVID, I was reading the book that Rick Ross wrote. And this is what he said. He was driving around from little clubs to do little shows with him and his buddy. I forgot his name, his buddy. And he wasn't having no success. And then on his last trip, he went to a club and he was like, let's just go home. They had a long drive And he was like, I just don't want to stay here. Let's just go home. And he said that they had only made about $100 when they added everything up. And his friend was driving. And his friend, he got pulled over for drunk driving. They put both of them in jail. His friend's mom ended up bailing them out of jail. But this is what Rick Ross said to himself while he was in jail. He said, this stuff he don't think that it's going to work for him. He was saying that in his own mind. He said, I done tried all of these different ways. Everything that people said was going to work, it's not working. Right now, my friend's mom is bailing me out of jail. This stuff isn't going to work. I'm just going to have to go back and find something else to do. He wrote that in the book. But then he said he was just going to keep moving forward. And a lot of people who are successful, they'll tell you that. Even for myself, there was a situation where I had got a contract. My business was moving forward, got a contract, and 2 weeks later, they took the contract away. And I thought to myself, maybe, it's going to be hard to be in business. And then after I got myself together, I kept moving forward. But to continue on what Rick Ross did, he said, I'm just going to keep writing and just keep moving forward. And we already know what his success is. But just think, if he would have just stayed in that mental folder, because see, that mental folder will give you the excuses. The mental folder will tell you, okay, you just got pulled over for drunk driving. You're in jail. You don't even got bail money. And all of those other shows, you didn't make any money. This is not going to work for you. That's sitting right there to justify and give him reasons to quit. But remember what I told you, the goal is the goal. So no matter what ways you got to get to it, you just got to keep rewriting how you're going to get to the goal, but the goal has to stay the same. If you have any trouble moving forward, accomplishing something in your life, it's because you keep changing the goal rather than changing the plan to get to the goal. What about creators? I threw that one in there because you got creators on YouTube, got creators on Facebook, Instagram, on all of the different platforms. You have creators. And if you were to talk to creators and sit them down, they would tell you the same thing. I started my channel and there was nobody watching. There was nobody paying attention. And, I didn't know what I was going to do. But the ones that became successful, guess what they did? They kept creating. On this YouTube channel that you're watching right now, Making Money with Stephen A. Williams, some of my videos at the beginning, I was getting 1 to 2 views. Like putting upload the video up and I got 1 to 2 views. Think about it. How would you feel if you're putting time into making a video and then you got 1 to 2 views? Rather than staying in that mental file folder, the goal was the goal, which is to help people like you with how the subconscious mind works, with how thought processes work, with how building businesses work. The goal remained the same. All I had to do was make some tweaks and changes about how I approached this channel to have people like you understand how you can build business, how you can improve your thought processes. And guess what happened? Videos that I popped in, 500 views the first day, 1,000 views after that, 2,000 views. So remember, detach from the mental folder. The reason why you're detaching is so you don't bring in. I call this go into the room. I don't have any other word or phrase for it. This is what I tell myself. I'm going to go into the room. When I go into the room, that means that I'm going to leave all of this other stuff on the outside. Because think about it. If say you're a person that make $1 million a year and you're trying to get to $2 million a year, can you go back to your old mental folders to make $2 million a year? Or when you're making $2 million a year, are you going to be a new person with new mental folders? That's what I'm saying. I'm teaching you how to write new programming to your own mind so you can get rid of the anxiety, get rid of the stress, the worry, all of that. And that's something that I forgot to add right here. When you go into the room, even though you're going to automatically feel this, when you go into the room, you have to practice putting aside anxiety. You have to practice putting aside stress. You have to practice putting aside worry. So the way that I do it, as soon as I say I'm going into the room, and when I say going to the room, it's mental to me. It's like I make a mental picture and everything goes to the side. Some people might say it's like meditation, where you detach the senses that your body gives you from thoughts that you're either thinking about or thoughts that are in your mind from the past. So let me give you an example. Let's just say, for instance, I'll make one that's extreme. Because when my wife was young, when she was a kid, she ran across the street and got hit by a car. So guess what comes up every time our grandchildren, every time she get ready to cross the street, guess what comes up automatically from her mental file folder? Potentially getting hit by a car. If a person got hit by a car, what do you think their anxiety level is going to be when they're crossing the street and there's cars coming? Like they're like probably starting to shake. And she doesn't shake, but she does have a high level of anxiety. Now that's an extreme one, but even when you're trying to make changes, I would say financially. When you're trying to make changes financially, you will have some anxiety because you don't identify as that person. So if you have to leave one income to get to another income, you're going to have anxiety. So what you have to do is you have to practice in that room. When you go into that room, detach from the mental folder. When you detach from the mental folder, the thing that might try to keep you with those mental folders is the stress, anxiety, and worry. Because you're going to be like, it's stressful to go into something that I don't know anything about the outcome. It's going to have a lot of anxiety because if I don't know it all, I don't know it. I got to know everything that's going to happen before I try to do something. You're going to be worried about it. All of that stuff is going to build up. You have to release that and let that go. You have to put that aside, and that's going to take practice. It's going to take practice. And then the goal is the goal. So whatever your goal is, that's the goal. The plan to get to the goal, that's the only thing that can change. And if you want more information about the goal is the goal, go to the video that was previously uploaded that I did on Napoleon Hill, where he talks about how you put together a mastermind group, and that's how you can overcome changing the goal. I give you good instruction on there. And then upgrade your identity. You have to upgrade your identity because you have to change on the inside before it materializes on the outside. And you will know, I'm going to give you a test where you'll know if you've changed on the inside. Your family, your friends, associates, they're either going to say things like, you've changed. They may not even be able to tell you exactly how you've changed, but they're going to know that you've changed. And another way that you'll be able to know that you've changed is that the people who were negative in your life will all of a sudden disappear. I call it the disappearing people. They don't really disappear, but they disappear from you because they can't stand that you want to make positive changes in your life. They're negative. And just like a battery, if you were to try to put the positive and negative together, it's not going to work. So with batteries, positive and positive doesn't work, but positive and positive with people does work. Negative and negative with people, that's what works. That's why you'll see if a group of people are negative, they're going to have a whole bunch of negative people with them. And if there's a group that's positive, there's going to be a whole bunch of them that's all positive. And you're going to see the disappearing people, that's what I call it. They're going to just like disappear. That you might see them if they're family members, you might see them at a family function or something. And the crazy thing also about the disappearing people is that they never acknowledge that you've changed as a person, that you've bettered your life. So you got to be very careful around them because they will always, because they're negative, They will always see you how they want to see you, which is in the old you. They want you to stay there because they're afraid to make changes in their life. So they want you to stay there with them rather than them coming up there and changing with you. So what I want you to do is post your questions and comments. I want you to do your homework. Tell me what you're doing in your life to make changes. Tell me the anxieties, the stresses, what comes up in your mind when you first try to put aside the mental file folders. Please subscribe to the channel, post your questions and comments. This is Stephen A. Williams with Making Money with Stephen A. Williams on YouTube.